Welcome back from our short break. We'll continue with our discussion. Before we went on break, movie was highlighting the differences between, especially the Ahmadis and Sunnis. Last week, it was clear, it was evident from the explanations given by movie that Ahmadiyya is in agreement to a large extent with the Sunnis. Today, he has also highlighted where the disagreements are, which has to do with the advent of Mirza Ghulam Ahmed that Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam spoke about before his demise. There is one issue that is also thorny. A lot of people would like to have clearance or better education on, because it appears to be a misconception that non-Muslims also have. The Sunnis believe that Prophet Muhammad is the last of the prophets on the chains of prophets in the Islamic world. So they think Ahmadiyyat claim to the advent of Mirza Ghulam Ahmed is a violation of that position. This has been a fundamental issue that has raged on for so many years. And I'm glad today I have you discussing this issue. How will you clear the misconception around this particular issue that I've just spoke about? If they believe that Prophet Muhammad is the last on the prophet chain, and Ahmadiyya is saying Mirza Ghulam Ahmed is going to come after Prophet Muhammad, and this position violates their position, so Ahmadiyya is not part or a different set of Islam. How do we clear that misconception?
This is a very nuanced question that I think it is not possible to resolve this in one sitting only. Why?
I know it's broad.
Yes, it is broad, and it is very very fine and nuanced, in a sense that it is an understanding of each other, speaking the same language, but having the same meanings of the same words. That is the challenge here. As far as we believe that the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was such a prophet that came at the end of the evolution of the human mind, in a sense that there will be no one who can abrogate or add to his teachings. We fully concord with the Sunnis that the Holy Prophet Muhammad is the greatest, and his Sharia is the last, and his teachings can never be abrogated until last day. The tricky word here is prophet, Nabi or Rasul. Sometimes used interchangeably, and sometimes they have other meanings within themselves. What is the issue here? In both words, what we see, what does Nabi mean? Nabi means, word comes from the Arabic word Naba'a, which means caller. In essence, the role of a prophet of a Nabi is that he is coming from God as an announcer to listen to the news that God has given us. Rasul means a messenger, means that he has had a message and he brought it to us. So both are very similar in meaning. The one who calls obviously has received the message to deliver it. In that sense, when we look in these words, it means that when they say that there can be no caller to Allah, you know, there could be no one who will be guided from Allah to call people,
Mm.
then we would disagree and say that, even if we have the Quran and we have the teachings of the Holy Prophet, ﷺ, the very presence of Holy Prophet Muhammad's spiritual being in this world was of essence for the education of humanity. You know, in a sense of messenger, that there can be no messenger after God. I'm now talking only from grammatical, let's say,
Mm.
or lingual point of view.
Mm.
Then it means that after the Holy Prophet, anybody who says that he has a direct relationship with God and God has given him a message to follow the Quran, he would be by default a liar. So these are the two observations that we make. Very interestingly, the argument that we had on the abrogation of the verses of the Quran, whereas we have, as the Ahmadiyya community, have a very strong stance that it is our intellect that is deficient, but no verse of the Holy Quran can be abrogated.
At all.
On the other hand, it is an allegation from the Sunnis that, na'uzubillah, God forbid, we do not acknowledge a verse from the Holy Quran which speaks of the Holy Prophet Muhammad as the Khataman Nabiyyin. And again, it's a very nuanced verse, because anybody who has experience with learning languages knows that among similar languages, sometimes there are false friends.
Yes.
What does false friend mean? False friend means that some words sound similar,
but with different meaning.
And they have sometimes the opposite meanings, or very different meanings.
Yes.
An example of false friends would be maybe in Italian, the word nervoso. In Italian language, when you say che lui è nervoso, it has more a connotation of he is upset, in a sense of rather angry. It is a very passionate
expression.
Whereas in English, nervous is more a timid expression. He's not angry, he is just confused. So words like nervoso and nervous are so similar to each other, but they have totally different meanings and nuance. Same is in Arabic, that in Arabic the word khatam is a false friend with the word khatim. It's very similar, and maybe in Urdu and all these languages there are different meanings. Khatam means seal. You know, in old age, when the king used to send a letter,
it is sealed with that red label.
It is sealed with red label and a little bit of wax, molten wax, and then with the ring.
Yeah.
Khatam means actually ring. Khatam means seal. What they confuse it, and that they understand it to be khatim, which means ender, the one who finishes things. But then there's a difference between being a seal and being the one who finishes it. Now look at it. What does it mean that the Holy Prophet Muhammad ﷺ is the seal of all the prophets? What is the function of a seal? The function of a seal is that when you want to send a message, a letter, and want to make sure that whoever reads this letter has no doubt that it is actually coming from me, then you send a seal and you put a seal on it to make sure that this is not a letter from anybody, or it is not an intercepted letter, but it is a letter coming directly from the authority that has the right to come out to you,
like a classified one.
Seal of the Prophet means that he has the Holy Prophet Muhammad ﷺ has made a strong argument that whoever you want to believe as the true prophet of God, whoever you want to believe as a true prophet of God, needs to be acknowledged by me, needs to be acknowledged by the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
So,
Which means that we believe in Jesus only because the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam has put his seal on it. He was a true prophet. Because the Bible for us was not sufficient enough to consider him a true prophet. We believe in Moses alayhi salam as a true prophet because it has the seal of the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now it means that if there were any prophet to come afterwards, it should be a prophet fully under the teaching of the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Because once the seal has been established, nobody can break it or open it. So the figure of Mirza Ghulam Ahmad alayhi salam is the one who has not broken the seal of the Prophet of the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but rather his entire claim was that my level of prophethood does not challenge the Prophet of the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but my prophethood has been granted to me as a reward for fully obeying the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And that goes in line with the Quranic verse in Surah An-Nisa, the 4th chapter, verse 69 and 70, where Allah says, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem, وَمَن يُطِعِ اللَّهَ وَالرَّسُولَ, whoso obeys Allah, وَالرَّسُولَ, and the messenger, which refers to the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Whosoever obeys Allah and the messenger, the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, وَمَن يُطِعِ اللَّهَ وَالرَّسُولَ فَأُولَٰئِكَ مَعَ الَّذِينَ أَنْعَمَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِمْ, they will be those on whom Allah has bestowed their favors. They will be among those on whom Allah has bestowed favors. Now, what are the favors? Minan Nabiyina, they will be with the prophets. Was-Siddiqina, and they will be with the truthful. Was-Shuhada, and the martyrs. Was-Salihin, with the righteous people.
which means
In the very Quran, the understanding of Khatam al-Nabiyyin, of being sealed prophet, has been explained that this means that if you fully obey Allah and this messenger, never disobey him, you fully follow his footsteps one by one, Allah will reward you with one of these 4 positions, and one of them, and the first one, is even prophethood.
which means I know you understand perfectly when we talk about context analysis.
Yes.
If I'm to apply a context analysis to what you have just explained, I am minded clearly to the fact that prophet comes with its own provisions, and Caliphate also comes with its provisions. But the provisions of the Caliphate does not measure up to that of the prophet. But when they fully comply with the teachings of the prophet, Allah will reward the Caliphate with part of the provisions of the prophet, if my understanding is correct.
Yes, that's also correct, but it's also, again, according to the Quran, there's another explanation, because then somebody could ask that, then why did not God bestow prophethood immediately after the Holy Prophet Moses?
That was going to be my next question.
Oh, okay. So we are very synchronized in this sense.
Yes.
The reason is that Allah and His wisdom looks at the needs of the time. You know, it's not a mere matter of status and level and appreciation by God,
but the needs of the
the
time
need of
or
the
the
time.
exigencies of the time.
After a great prophet like the Holy Prophet Muhammad, who has touched many people and has educated them and taught them, the level of spirituality and morality and character was as such that Khilafat sufficed. As any human society just needed a leader.
Yeah.
A spiritual leader, of course, to resolve day-to-day issues and matters. But the Holy Prophet Moses made a prophecy, and I think I spoke of this also in one of the earlier programs, of the latter days, that at that time Muslims will be so much deviated
Yeah.
from what
The
I have
teachings.
taught you, that it will take a prophet to bring you back to faith. Now, as I said, that this question of Sunni, the allegation they raised that there should not be a prophet, is the same thing that we say, but then your Jesus will also come. Will he not be a prophet? If he is not, then the Quran is no right. If he is, now listen to this. If he is a prophet of God, and they would have to admit it in one way or the other, what authority will he have on me as a Muslim if I have the Holy Prophet Moses already? We make reference to the same John
16.
John 16 as well, that Jesus himself admitted that he does not have the people in front of him to bring people to the full light. So the Holy Prophet will fulfill the light of Jesus. So what role does Jesus have to fulfill the light of the Holy Prophet Muhammad? That's one thing. It's an argument obviously applicable to Sunnis who understand the dimensions, where the level of Prophet is, Muhammad is, very rightly so, and what the role of Jesus is. The second is that in the Quran, again in the Quran, and that's the thing, there are hadiths, there are traditions of
Holy
Prophet
Prophet Muhammad.
that may lead someone to believe that Jesus will come back in his person. But in acknowledging this hadith in letter, the way Sunnis do, you lose out of quite a couple of verses of the Holy Quran which are in contradiction to such belief. Because another verse of the Quran is that the Jesus will be or is Rasulan ila Bani Israel, a messenger sent to the children of Israel, which are just 12, 13, 12 tribes. Huh? And we find this evidence even in the Gospels, that he very clearly made sure that his Gospels are taught only to the mission that he came to, and he was commissioned to the children of Israel. The moment Jesus comes into our mosque and says, I am commissioned by God, I tell you this and that, we say, very rightly so, Jesus, but now you tell me that we are also in a difficulty, because according to the Quran, which is eternal, as God forbid, Nauzubillah, made error in considering you a messenger only to the Bani Israel, whereas Muhammad was a messenger to entire humanity.
That portion has recently been counted by Christian theologists or scholars, that they are in the belief that Muslims are in error in thinking that Jesus was only sent to the people of Israel, because there are other parts or chapters in John that also says Jesus commissioned his followers to go and spread the gospel to the ends of the world. So they are with the impression that we are only considering that part of the Bible that suggests that he came only for the people of Bani Israel, rather than also looking further to that portion of the Bible or that chapters that also make reference to he commissioning his disciples to spread the gospel to the entire parts of the world. Right. It is getting interesting, and you have
Yeah, yeah.
additional points to
Just on
right,
answer to
right.
that.
Do it quickly so that
As
we
I made it just a quick reference to the Bible,
okay.
but whatever the Bible says, for us Muslims, it's not an authority. I made the primary point that it is the Quran
Quran's verdict.
who commissioned Jesus to be a messenger to the Bani Israel. But this argument, what the Christian theological scientists have made, it's also sometimes we find ourselves in such a paradoxical situation, Christians, where they question, sometimes they do not acknowledge that within the four Gospels there are a lot of contradictions.
Yeah.
And whenever we pinpoint these contradictions according to their own beliefs, at any point of time, they nullify the others and accept this one.
Accept the other one.
So if you don't accept the gospel as a whole package, you want to make a difference between John and Matthew, Mark, and Luke, you're welcome to do so. Tell us, then choose one of them which you see is more credible.
As a matter of fact, Dr. Bart Eggman
Yes.
had also nullified that position.
Yes.
That, like you just said, the Gospel of John, the Gospel according to Mark, Luke, and Matthew, to him are all not credible because their original manuscripts are nowhere to be found.
Yes.
Which means he doubts the authenticity of their claims. So clearly, your points are in agreement with that of the historian.
Yeah. When I make reference here to the Gospels, it is to the common Christian man who reads all these books with reverence without questioning too much. And for them, sometimes a single verse is very convincing to understand a point.
Yeah.
We are not here into the scientific discussion. This could be another topic.
Yes.
Of the credibility of the thing or the way Muslims view it. So it's for the common Christian now, when he listens to a reference to John, he does not go into this inner discussion within Christianity a lot of the credibility of a verse or not. He just acknowledges it. Oh, it is one of my teachings. And I will appreciate
move along with it.
That's how faith is for most of the Christians. Yeah?
Right, beloved. I believe you have educated yourself a lot today on that thorny issue. We brought the first series to you 2 weeks ago. We've had the benefit of expanding our scope on the issue of what is Islam Ahmadiyya, what are the differences that exist between Islam Ahmadiyya, the Sunnis, and the Shia. My takeaway points are quite clear. Like I said earlier on, let's look at the issues with our objective mind and not with the heart of rancor. This has been established clearly, and I want to re-emphasize it forcefully, that you shouldn't just listen to the teachings. Go and also make a research on the teachings you hear from Mulvey about some of these controversial and key issues that defines our faith. Faith in law, they say conterminous to our salvation. Your salvation is dependent on your faith, and your faith should be a determination made upon what you have a source of belief in, what you believe in. So what you believe in must be well researched into to know that indeed your faith is grounded in something that has connection with the divine authority. This has been very interesting, and I wish we could extend the discussion further on the issue, but time, they say, is an enemy of man. So we have to move on and also consider other topics that are very interesting. And I know viewers will be very happy to also learn a little bit more on the issue of veil that we discussed in our last meeting. Movie, we discussed briefly, I must say briefly, because time did not permit us to do a thorough discussion on that. We have a little bit time now. Can you expand further the teachings you brought to us about veil in our last meeting?
So, we have discussed a few matters, but just to let's say summarize, the main point of the veil is that in Islamic teachings, according to the teachings of the Quran, as taught to us by the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his traditions, is not just a mere piece of cloth that we put upon our heads, but there is a deeper philosophy behind
it.
You know, some people ask that women have to wear a veil, why men do not have to. We say that in the teachings of chastity, both are accountable to uphold these moralities. They had made a scientific experiment once where they had put a few women from different groups of society. You know, one was a bank manager, one was a judge, one was a cleaning lady, one was a housewife, and their clothes were accordingly. And they have put them in a line, and from a hidden mirror, they put a few men and said that which woman would you choose as your companion? And the men choose not from the level of status these women have, but from the beauty they saw in them. And they have chosen that the one that maybe had the lowest
category among them,
but because of the beauty, because that's something that attracts man, and that is the nature. Then they have reversed this experiment, and they have put man, very handsome man, in different clothes. One was wearing a dress of a judge, one was a lawyer, one was a janitor, and these kind of things. And maybe the most handsome one was the janitor. And they have put them in one row, and then they have called women and made this experiment repeatedly. And the result is that women do not go for looks; they look for status and power. Now we see that whereas in a way the way for women is based on the men's psyche to go for looks, which could short circuit many relationships within the society. For women, it is the richness, the power, and the sense of protection they would get from that man. It's let's say it's the human psyche over ages and over time for the majorities. Exception exists like nature is. Some may say, no, I chose my man because he looks good and I don't care for his money.
But the majority go for the economic power.
Or some man would say, I did choose my wife for her intellect, but not for her beauty. It happens. It's true. This is something that is a reality of life as well. But overall, the main societies, the majority works like this. That is why men do not wear gold, because it's showing off richness. Men do not wear silk because it's also showing off their status and power.
Yeah.
Men are not to drag their gowns behind them
Yeah.
as a status of, attracting and short-circuiting women for with their power and everything. That's why, in a sense, the way for men is the one of walk around in the world with humility, with simplicity, as the Prophet did. And for women, work around it with moderation, to not short circuit this. Now, there is much more in the philosophy of the way which shows, which is which is taught to us in Islam. That is that, if a man has bad intentions, no matter what you're wearing, if
They will still put it to effect.
he can still do something. It's not that the way is going to protect you, but it is for a larger society. The sense of, when there is a woman who made a strong statement by covering herself, that listen, I am dedicated to my faith, and no matter how you want to seduce me, don't even try. Then the man tries, and the society sees, look, this woman has made an open statement on her forehead, like a woman which, for example, shows you with a board that, hey, listen, I'm not available. I'm not available. Don't do your stupid things with somebody else,
but not with me.
Not with me. If you want to talk to me, be respectful. If you want to, if you need to exchange it with me, do it in a professional way, and that's it. And now the confusion is that if a woman does not have this signboard with her, then what is the message that she's giving when she is putting a lot of effort of knowing very well which parts of her body will attract more curiosity from men? What is the message that she's giving away? Huh? You see, that I want to be appreciated, but still I don't want you to touch me. And truly, moral men, should keep their guys low, not to be distracted from this. So there's no excuse that when you see a woman not modestly dressed, that you say, oh yeah, now she is a free game for men to do whatever they want. That's not the point here, that's not the excuse. Because the lowering of the gaze of men is as important a commandment that is for women to wear a veil. It's clearly connected in the Quran. It's one verse after the other. You cannot, read one without the other. But what it said is that there is a human desire within our basic instincts by women to be appreciated by no matter who. And that's the beauty of them, they want to be appreciated. Like your daughter wants to know that you are that she is loved every day. Your sister needs to be appreciated. Your wife needs to hear it from you, that she is loved and appreciated, and you're grateful for her. That's her nature. And a man who doesn't respect it, is it?
But the boundaries have been broken.
But the boundaries have been broken.
Their attempt to seek our attention to a large extent, my understanding, should be restricted at home. Yes. But now they've taken it to the streets.
Yeah. And now look at the
breaking the boundaries.
Breaking the boundaries. Now a woman who's wearing her veil, unless she lives in a Western society, is discriminated. No, because she lives in Western society, a woman is more limited and more discriminated than in an Islamic country Islamic majority country, for example, like not we don't take the very fundamental ones, but the Emirates and everything,
Yeah.
where you see that for the society, for a woman to be successful in society, it's not the looks, the way she dresses herself. A woman is very much respected if she fully, according to her culture, protects herself and has the full niqab and full covering, or if she's walking around like a normal Western lady, they do not discriminate there.
Yes.
But what they do is that there is generally a change of behavior,
Towards them.
of how you look with awe and respect to a woman who gives this strong statement that I am not game.
Yeah, but this is a crucial point. It's a
Yes.
critical point.
Yes.
But then the Western part of the world sees it as a violation of their rights.
Yes. They see it as a violation of the right because there is a background to it in Christian theology. And I know there's always been, like, when I make references to the Bible, this discussion whether it's acknowledged or not. But I would make this point actually very strong for the majority of the Christians. That strangely so, when we speak of the Gospels, they immediately can refute it. We don't know its originality, whatever. What about the letters of Paul? The same Paul who, against all other books, previous literature, and Jesus' words himself, introduced the doctrine of Jesus' divinity, which they have accepted and preferred above all other teachings they could find which are opposing to it within the Gospels and within the books before it, which Jesus also made reference to in his life. He made a very strong statement in his letter of Corinthians, where he said that a woman must cover her head because she is born and made to be serving her man. A woman who does not cover her head, it is better for her to shave her head than to be under the disobedience of God. And then he continues that, in this whole letter, there's this argument that it was, and that the Christian believe, no matter how much now we will discuss whether these letters are valid or not, or whatever it is. The point is that there's a mystery that why would the Christians choose from the same books of the same author some parts to give them more authority than
Other parts.
But then they would still refute others? No, they don't. And they actually don't. Right now, when you see that political leaders, when they meet Pope Francis, for example, Donald Trump went to meet, President Trump went to meet Pope Francis, with him, his wife, Melania Trump. And when you see at all the pictures, she was wearing a black veil. All respect. On the same trip before that, they just came from Saudi Arabia, where Melania was not wearing any veil. The thing is that the concept of veil is the nuns are wearing veils. And it is a sign of their obedience and submission to the man in the church. They cannot refute it because it's there in the Bible, the reason for it. Whereas in the Quran, so when they, from their historical distancing themselves from the veil, it was because for them the veil was a symbol of submission and a lower rank than that for men, according to the, and they project the same understanding that veil means submission. Okay, let's get away from it. Whereas in Islam, in Islamic society, slave women, for example, did not used to wear veils. They were not. The higher their rank inside society were, the more their covering was. It was a sign of respect. It is a sign of higher level of respect. And that also transferred, and there's some reminiscence of finding this even in Western society. When, for example, a woman on the day of her life, which is considered historically is her marriage, the bride traditionally wears a veil.
Ovi, this point, I really want you to make it because time is fast catching up on us. The wearing of the veil, is it a revelation that we can trace in the Quran, or it is a hadith, a practice that Prophet Muhammad himself professed for the woman?
When the Islamic society was being established in Medina at that time, Umar, as we have spoken about Hazrat Umar radiallahu anhu, we spoke about his passion.
Yes.
He saw that the hypocrites and the Jews will now start targeting out of their rancor Muslim women, and he repeatedly requested the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam to tell his wives and women they should cover themselves up, so we can recognize them on the street that these are Muslim women, we have to protect them, and so on. And he repeatedly came to the Holy Prophet Muhammad for this, but the Holy Prophet Muhammad said that unless God tells me, I cannot do what you are telling me. Then the chapter Surah Nur, chapter 24, has been revealed to the Holy Prophet Muhammad. And then in other Quranic verses have been revealed repeatedly, where it says that say to the believing women, they should cover themselves. They should cover themselves and hide their
sensitive parts,
the parts, and the things that obviously even coverings cannot hide. For example, their height or whatever,
their weight and all
the weight. These are the things that they should be actually covered, and that is a Quranic verse found in many instances in the Quran, but the origin was in not the origin, but the main part, which makes it very clear, is in chapter 24, Surah An-Nur. So it is no doubt a Quranic injunction, which cannot be refuted as this is the authority of it. Now, when it comes to the style of the way, the important part is to cover what Allah has commanded us to cover. And it depends on your culture, it depends on your safety, your security, and your own commitment to this, to see how or what type of things you will wear to cover it. In some villages, women just wear a big chadar, they say a big cloth, and they just cover themselves up. In Western society, people find it more for their movement easier to wear a long coat and have a headscarf separately. So in some societies, women who are from a higher status, they prefer that they have all this jewelry and everything, but when they go out, they cover themselves in black robes, and it does not limit, rather they give them more respect. The issue is here with the violation and limitation is that when in some countries under the name of Islam, women are punished for not observing the way.
That would have been my next question, whether it is compulsory.
Yes.
That the veil must be worn by Muslim women at all times, or it is optional.
Exactly. That's. I think I tried to answer this last time also. From a theological point of view, it is compulsory because it is a commandment of the Quran. As is it compulsory to pray 5 times a day. But if we don't do it, are we punished? There is no punishment for that. That will be God's decision in the hereafter. So it is our level of faith will bring us. The Quran is very clear on La ikraha fi din, that you cannot, compulsion. On matters of your own spirituality, you cannot compel people in matters of faith. So when there are authoritarian governments who force you and punish you and torture you, this is against another clear teaching of the Holy Quran. But allow me to say that the Western societies, in which, for example, in France, at some beachside cities, it is clearly forbidden for women to wear a headscarf, is in effect the same violence of women's rights that we find in some so-called Muslim countries who force them to wear the headscarf. It shouldn't be the government's decision. It shouldn't be man's decision in that sense, in a very vulgar sense to say it.
Yeah.
To force to wear or not to wear the headscarf.
It should flow freely from the woman.
From the head. And that's the thing. The violence that happens to women with veil is more in Occidental countries and more in these Western countries because they are discriminated at their workplace, they're discriminated in their studies, and they're discriminated in
their social gatherings and all that.
In the social gatherings. Whereas in some Muslim countries, women, the veil is not stopping you to become intellectual or to work or to do all these things.
Or to even marry.
Or it is the mindset, the way when young women, Muslim girls come to me crying, they say that my teacher every day discriminates against me, say that I'm stupid because I'm wearing a veil. Is that what they want? Is that freedom? No? The teacher wants her to come in a bikini or like in these clothes? Then he would be treating her better?
Well, on this high note, I would like to end our discussion today. Temperance is a virtue. Temperance is the practice of moderating our indulgence in extramarital affairs and in every other activity. The veil, in addition to the points raised by movie, that is preventing the violation of women, it is also fundamental to suppressing global infidelity. It is fundamental. Recent statistics have shown that women that have been violated in veil-wearing communities are far less than women that have been violated in communities that women are allowed to wear just anyhow dress on the streets. A word to a wise, they say, is enough. So please, the decision now is in your court. You have to decide whether you will go on the street and expose yourself for men or to give men the arsenals to violate you, or you will protect your value and your dignity by dressing very well. Moving made a critical point the last time we met, that you can wear veil but still behave badly and you will still be violated. You may not wear the veil, but your life will be one that will be exemplary, that people will find very difficult to have you violated. Beloved, we've learned a lot today, and I always ask you to post your questions, your observations, your comments, and all that are very much welcome. Feel free to send it to us, and in our next meeting, we will review them to let you know that we have you at heart. We shall break for now, and the second part will continue in Italian language for our brothers and sisters in Italy. So for those of you who are watching us all over the world today, it's from myself and the missionary in charge of the Ahmadiyya Jamaat in Italy. Assalamu alaikum to you all.
Assalamu alaikum.